Which do you think is better? The jacked up, steroid-enhanced stage photos? Or how he looks right now? Which do you think is more desirable? Clearly, the old physique would embarrass this one on a bodybuilding stage. Coach Greg, and in today's video, Ben Bray, the truth about my steroid use and going back natural. What happened is he went on performance-enhancing drugs, gained about 45 pounds of muscle in about a year and a quarter, and then lost all of it when he decided to go back natural. There's no such thing as going back to natural. Yes, we get it. It's a pedantic argument. We know he's not lifetime natural. Once you've done steroids, you can never go back. You can't rewind the clock. You can't say I haven't done it. But oftentimes people think that if you've done steroids that somehow you're going to keep all those gains, and I'm telling you that you're not. I know you don't believe me. I've lost all credibility after all, but I've still coached thousands of people to use steroids and have stopped and so on, and so I know what's going on. Just because you use steroids once, twice, 100 times, doesn't mean you're going to keep all those gains. And for most people, many of those people, it's far worse when you come off. I know you're thinking that one-time cycle, that's all you're going to need, and you're going to be able to keep all those gains, or at least most of them, but the truth is you're probably not. And once you've been on steroids and felt like Superman, once you go off, it's very hard to stay natural. And yeah, pedantic again, you're not natural. Who cares? You use steroids and you stop, you're no longer on gear, you're going to feel much worse than if you had never done it in the first place. Greg Doucette video incoming. And so his response, hopefully you like the transparency of the video, bud. Love the content you put out. Because of this reason, keep it up. You're going to learn so much from this video about using steroids, what it's like to be on them, as well as what it does to your body. And to conclude, you're going to find out what it's like to go back natural. This guy is extremely good looking, just like V-Shred. Remember that? He's on the good-looking Richter scale. He's perhaps approaching a 10. But while he was on steroids, and I did in fact ask Mesprogram, I'm like, does he look hot here or hot here? He's like, hot there, no, right there. While on steroids, he lost his hotness. Bruh. You can say, I'm gay, or you can say, I'm just calling it like I see it. When he used steroids, his attraction level, it went down, and down drastically. Sorry. He was much better looking off gear. And so oftentimes when you take steroids thinking you're going to be much more attractive to women, it actually does the opposite.
So the reason we opted for 150 milligram of testosterone is because I was on the higher end of the natural ranges. I was able to stay on 150 milligram of testosterone for 11 weeks. And in that time frame, I went from weighing 78 kilogram upwards to 85 kg.
And so he started his journey on only 150 milligrams of testosterone a week. He went from 78 kilograms to 85. It's about 15 pounds. Now, some of it's water, a little bit was fat, but it is, in fact, a lot of muscle, very similar to the gains that Alex Eubank had made. Remember, he only started at roughly 200 or 250 milligrams. And so if you think that you need really high doses to put on a lot of muscle, it is not true. Oftentimes, even HRT doses can have you putting on more muscle than last time. And so he says his testosterone levels were at 26. That's basically on the Canadian scale. We use the same one. It's about 750 nanograms per deciliter. And so if your testosterone is already high and you go on HRT, it could screw up your long-term levels of test. You may, in fact, by using and abusing steroids, need to be on HRT for the rest of your life. This happened to me. I abused steroids for perhaps 10, 11 years, and I, since that time, had to go on HRT. My dose, very similar to his, 140 milligrams. And so you can see, he was able to put on almost 15 pounds just from HRT alone. Before going on anything, and in order to do it safely, please go and get checked out by AlgoRx. You get your blood work done to see if you're safe and healthy. You can get prescription medications done very quickly. You could get, for example, Tadalafil, Cialis, Viagra, you know those, as well as enclomiphene and talmosartan. Perhaps you have high blood pressure. And so if you want a doctor to talk things over you and get prescribed actual prescriptions from pharmaceutical medications for much cheaper than everywhere else, AlgoRx, click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off.
In order for me to be competitive in the NPC division, chasing an IFBB Pro card, I needed to continue to push. So the goal was 90 kg. My weight had become a little bit stagnant, so what we did is we increased the PD dosage to 200 milligram of testosterone per week.
At 11 weeks in, he upped the dose to 200 milligrams in order to keep the muscle being added. After a while, whatever dose you're on, your body gets used to it and it's not going to continue to get any bigger. And so just because your first cycle was on 500 milligrams of test and some Anavar, perhaps it was Aldura's dad's cycle, well, eventually that comes to an end. All the gains you made, perhaps you put on 10 pounds of muscle, you've now peaked out again. And the only way to go even higher is to increase the doses. And so unfortunately, you can't just take a little bit and think, hey, I'm going to make indefinite gains. You're going to have to continue to push higher doses, which of course are not going to be healthy. And so if we look at his physique, do we not see a little bit of the moon face right now, a little bit of puffiness? And so although he's putting on a lot of muscle, it does come with some roundness. He looks a bit fluffier. I'm not saying he doesn't look good, but he is fluffier than last time.
In total, I spent 6 months progressively pushing. Because I was only utilizing 150 milligram, which is a cruise, as people would define it, I was able to blast on 200 for a further 12 weeks. In that time frame, my physique went from this to this.
And so he's put on 13 kilograms in about 6 months from only doing HRT type of doses. Guys, that's well over 30 pounds. Some of it water and fat, but a lot of it is muscle. And so very impressive gains on so little.
And now we went into a preparation for my first competitive bodybuilding show as an assisted athlete in the NPC, pursuing an IFBB Pro card.
Following this, he cut down, did a proper cycle in order to turn IFBB Pro, and he placed second in his first competition. So very good. He knew he had to push the drugs even further.
This was in October. My bodybuilding journey started in January.
And so you can notice as he's standing on stage, notice how his face is a lot fuller. I mean, he's peeled here. He's very, very lean, very low body fat percentage, but yet you see that his face, even on stage lean, is a lot rounder and fuller than it is right now. He's perhaps 5 or 10% body fat more now in his off season than he was standing on stage. That is one of the side effects of using testosterone. Oftentimes you'll look puffy. We call it a moon face, and so you will oftentimes look a lot older and less attractive. And if you look at his physique, you can see the nipples surrounding that area. You see some gynecomastia being formed. This is something men despise. Many people getting surgeries for this. We just had genetic anomaly get a surgery. He couldn't lift his arms over his head for about 3 weeks, wasn't able to train. And it is, in fact, very expensive.
And this goal of pursuing an IFBB Pro card is not just a dream, but it's actually in touching distance after just 10 months on the amateur circuit.
Following this pro qualifier where he got 3rd out of 25 competitors, remember the winner gets a pro card, he's thinking, I'm within striking distance. Perhaps that dream of an IFBB Pro card, it's more of a reality than ever before. And so when you get that close, you almost can feel it, and you're willing to push the drugs even more. Just ask Mike Isertel. He competed, he desperately wanted his IFBB Pro card, but because he had loose skin, extra fat cells, he got a very difficult surgery in order to look better. And despite the brain fog, the fact that it can take years off of your life, despite everything, it's still worth it in that moment.
And please may I add, very little use of PEDs in comparison to the people who beat me and in comparison to the people who I'd already beaten.
And so this is every person's statement ever. Literally, it's everyone's statement.
I used hardly any drugs in comparison to what other people are taking.
This is what everyone does. In order to justify taking the sizes of the drugs that you're doing, you say, well, my friend takes this, they take that, these pros are taking way higher doses. That allows you to feel a little bit better. In other words, it allows you to cope because it can't feel good to know that you're on abusive levels of steroids when that's going to take off years from your life. And so you say, well, compared to my friends, compared to those competitors, I was hardly taking anything. And so you say, you know what, next time I'm going to take a little bit more.
I was only ever going to take minimal amounts in order to get the maximum back. However, all of a sudden that mentality switched and I was like, I will do whatever I need to do to get to where I need to get to.
And so you see that. At first, it's I'm only going to take minimal amounts. I'm not willing to risk my health. I'm going to take very low doses. But once you get very good, you're thinking, I'm meant to be somebody. Perhaps I could get on the Olympia stage. It's now worth it. That risk-reward ratio, it's going higher than ever before. The same applies to women. They might say, I'm only going to take very low doses. I won't risk my voice changing. But before too long, they're competing on the national stage thinking, hey, I could become a bikini pro, or they are a pro. They're upping the doses. They're losing their hair, deeper voices, having to shave. And a few years later, they don't even want to compete anymore, but yet they've ruined their bodies.
Now, it's important to know after Milan, I ran a very extensive health phase. I pulled everything out completely and went on to TRT. When I say everything, I want full transparency on this channel. I was using testosterone and I was using a DHT, right? So primobolan or mastron. I was also using fat burners, also known as lipolytics, in the form of clenbuterol, and just generally some orals. Anavar.
And so he decided to go off the testosterone, mastron or primo, as well as the clenbuterol, the Anavar, and he wanted to just go on TRT to become a little bit healthier. This is what typically is done in people's off seasons. They'll go on very high doses of several different substances, and then after the competition, they'll go down to lower doses in order to get healthy. Now, healthy is dependent on the person. Some people have more risk for health than others, but he's doing this knowing next cycle it's going to be even stronger and higher dose because he wants to win that pro card. You perhaps join the gym just trying to be healthy, to fit in, to look better. But before you know it, you're addicted to that dopamine, that rush, the thrill of being a champion on stage. Many people come up to you, ask you, for example, hey, how much do you bench? How big are your arms? You become the center of attention at every party or anywhere you go, and you get addicted to that feeling. It's very difficult to go from being the center of attention to just fitting in the crowd.
January 2024. Here, I went into another off-season. This off-season spanned only 12 weeks. It was an in and out off-season. We built a significant amount of muscle tissue. And again, from October all the way through to the end of March, I went from weighing 80 kilogram on stage and I added 20 kilogram.
His next bulk in his off-season, he's now 100 kilograms. Remember, he started at 78. It's 22 kilograms. It's about 49 pounds. This is a lot of muscle, a little bit of fat, but it's in only just over a year.
I went from having a physique that most 18 to 30-year-olds desired to being a big bodybuilder, to just having a physique that most bodybuilders would want. And along with that, I had a neck that was double the size. My face had completely changed.
And so notice he describes it. My neck got twice as thick. This is very bad. It causes various sleep disorders like sleep apnea. Many people are wearing the mask in order to go to bed at night, and they wake up during the night literally choking. They can't get any air. It's very dangerous. It can make you feel tired. And so that CPAP machine becomes a must. Further to that, his facial changes. He didn't look the same. Used to be, I would say, more attractive, but with all the bloated puffiness from using steroids and so on, he now looks older. He looks like a bodybuilder. And for some people, perhaps they like that, but he's no longer has the desired physique of most people who are in their 20s. They wouldn't want to look like that.
It was almost like I'd lost my identity. I had no real purpose other than to be a pro.
He describes all he wanted was to be a pro. He had no other identity. Being a pro was his identity. It's all about, when am I going for my pro card? Eat, sleep, train. All he cares about is winning. He gave up his friends, his social life, his fun, all in order to pursue a pro card. And for what? Really think about it. It's fun at the time. You're chasing the pro card, the thrill of being a pro. But what does it mean to actually be a pro? What does that change in your life? If you're giving up all the happiness that you experience, all to chase an IPE pro card, where you have to abuse performance-enhancing drugs in order to do so.
I had an incredible run. I finished second in Alicante at Amateur Olympia, the biggest amateur show pretty much in the world. I won the M Pro Classic, which is probably the second biggest show, and narrowly missed out on a pro card in the overall. And then I went to Ireland, I won my class, and I lost in the overall again.
And so he did several shows back to back, 3 shows, getting second place a number of times, very close to earning his pro card.
Before bodybuilding, I had a thriving transformation business. And during bodybuilding, I would wake up with no energy, with no drive, and just think, I can't wait for today to be done. Because I had low food, high cardio, and I was running a lot of lipolytics and PEDs in order to achieve the goal.
Totally relate. As he's bodybuilding, no energy, hard to get through your day, and you're basically just waiting it for it to be over. It isn't fun. Like looking at your physique in the mirror and seeing you look better, it's about the only thing fun of a bodybuilding competition. You're improving in terms of how your physique is looking, but everything else is more difficult.
And it was now time, officially a year ago to this day, where I needed to transition to being fully back natural.
And so he decided, look, it's not worth it. I'm not going to use steroids anymore. And he decided to go off cold turkey. No more steroids. I'm just going to come off. Many people think that that's what Hussein Farhat did, that he went on steroids and just stopped taking them cold turkey, and that he just kept his gains.
Felt like shit, had no desire to go to the gym, and my physique was disappearing right in front of my face.
9 weeks after stopping, his physique was disappearing right in front of him. His testosterone levels, they're bottom out. Of course they are. When you're using exogenous testosterone, androgens, and so on, your body then says, we don't need to produce any. It then stops. And so when you stop injecting the testosterone, your body is still on a break. It's not producing testosterone. And so what happens is your muscles, they will melt from your body. Pound after pound after pound. Every single day you go to the gym, you're weaker. You're thinking, hey, progressive overload, train harder than last time. Every week you get weaker. Every single week without fail, you're losing muscle, looking worse in the mirror. Imagine how that feels. You really think it's worth it? And so whatever cycle you go on, once you stop, you need to be prepared for this to happen.
So for me, motivation to train had completely diminished. Motivation to lift weights had completely diminished.
And so where's the motivation? I can't wait to go to the gym and see how much weaker I got. Can't wait to go and see that my muscles are flatter, that I'm losing size, fullness, vascularity. Yay, let's go to the gym. No one says that. That is not what happens. And so that is why most bodybuilders, that's right, almost all of them, in their off season, they're not off. They're on lower doses. Hey, let's just drop it down to 500 milligrams of test because I don't want to look like garbage. Let's just do the dad cycle year round. That is what people are doing. They're not going on nothing. They're not cycling off. They're not even going on HRT. They're going on, hey, whatever's HRT, let's double it by 2.5.
I wanted to try and see if I could recover naturally. And the truth be told, I wasn't really recovering.
Rather than going off cold turkey, of course, they could have contacted AlgoRx, perhaps got some enclomiphene, perhaps you need HCG. I don't know. Take whatever you need. Ask your doctor. Even with a proper PCT, you can't keep all of the muscle, all of the size that you put on while taking steroids.
A lot of people are willing to take the PEDs, but they're not willing to do the blood work frequently, and they're not willing to do their post-cycle therapy properly if they come off.
And so he says, look, if you're willing to spend the money on the steroids, the supplements, and so on, you have to be willing to spend the money to get off properly, because if you don't, you're going to feel even worse. It's not worth it.
So it was around September 2024 when I officially started my proper in-depth PCT protocol. This was probably the hardest 3 to 4 months of the whole journey.
And so he says during his PCT, that was the hardest part of the entire thing. Despite the fact he's on a PCT, hey, he's not on those steroids anymore. And so he's consistently looking softer, getting weaker, has brain fog, lack of energy, sex drive is going down. It's not fun. If you've never tried it, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But imagine going from feeling like Superman to feeling like you're hungover every single day.
I was losing all the muscle, which to be honest, for me was amazing. My neck was getting thinner, the inflammation from my face was dropping off, I was looking younger. I did suffer from really bad acne across all of my back and all of my face.
Not only that, a lot of people think, oh, you just get acne when you're on steroids. Oftentimes you get it when you come off. It's the change in hormones that's causing you to break out.
Training and weight training was just the worst thing in the world.
Think of it. Hear that sentence. Training, weight training was the worst thing in the world. This is a man whose passion was to go to the gym and work out. That's what he loved to do. That was his thing. He hated it. He had no motivation. He went from being highly motivated, couldn't wait to go to the gym, to once he got off steroids, he hated it. He didn't like it. But how could you like it? Every time you go, you look worse, you feel worse, you're getting weaker. How could that possibly be fun?
I just wasn't built to run a 10K, but I would rather do that than lift weights. That's the extremes of how I was feeling.
He hated lifting weights so much that despite the fact he hated running, he went for a 10K with blistered feet, hated it, And that was more fun than going to the gym.
The one thing that I suffered with the most, and everybody close to me knew this, was my self-confidence. I was starting to see the older version of me. I could wear nice clothes again. I started to enjoy and see what I looked like in the mirror.
Eventually, however, as his muscles began to deteriorate, to get a lot smaller, his neck size went down, the puffiness started to reside, he started to be able to fit in his own clothes again. He started to look better, to look fitter, to look younger, to look more normal, but a healthy normal. Being a bodybuilder, you don't look normal, and I know many people that's their goal, but for other people, they just want to be healthy.
I still don't look at weights the same. I still don't go into the gym. I don't look at the barbell with the same level of aggression.
But since that time, his love for lifting, it hasn't been the same. Once you can bench press, for example, 405 pounds for 10 reps, is it going to be fun to now do 225 for 10 reps? You've lost so much strength, and so it simply isn't the same. And so he now enjoys things more related to doing cardio, just to being fit. He doesn't have the same love for weightlifting that he once had, and that is the result of using and abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Once you're at the top, once you're really strong, it's hard to go back down to normal. And so looking at his physique right now, which do you think is better? The jacked up steroid enhanced stage photos or how he looks right now? Which do you think is more desirable? Where does he look better? Is bigger necessarily better? Clearly, the old physique would embarrass this one on a bodybuilding stage. But would you not rather look like this? Does he not look amazing right now?
Of this current period now, I'm the fittest that I've ever been. My heart rate when I was a bodybuilder was 73 beats per minute. It's now 43 beats per minute.
And compare his health. His resting heart rate as a bodybuilder was 73. It's now 43. Think of how much longer he's going to be able to live by training as an athlete versus training as a bodybuilder.
I'm much happier naturally, being in control of my hormones, liking how I look, and not having what I define as a roller coaster of emotions because you're pushing extremes.
And so he's much happier as a natural. He feels he looks better. He's in control of his emotions. Everything is just better as a natural athlete. For some people, they're thinking, no, that's not the way. But remember, if you're not old enough to make that decision, then don't make that decision. Does that make sense? If you're a teenager, do you really think you're prepared to go on abusive doses of steroids, SARMs, and so on? Why can't you wait? Whatever thing you're into right now, likely it's going to change when you get older. We all think that how we are right now is going to be how we always will be. I'm telling you it's going to change. Perhaps you're in love. This is how I feel. 10 years from now, you might not even be talking to that person you're in love with. So please remember that the decisions you make right now can in fact affect you for the rest of your life.
I learned a lot, but I'm glad that I can sit here 12 months after the journey, be back to my best self, be fit, be healthy, and be able to share my journey with you guys.
I have to tell you that if I were to go back in time, I would not use and abuse performance-enhancing drugs. I didn't need them. It would be amazing to right now be able to tell everyone, hey, don't I look fit? I'm 49. I have plenty of muscle. Check out my physique when I was younger. And they would all say, hey, you're a fake natty. There's no way you did that natural. There's no way you're natural right now. But because I used steroids for approximately 11 years, people think I started on steroids at the age of 10. You were always unnatural. And so if I had never taken steroids, I'm certain most people would say, hey, you abuse steroids, you look good, but hey, you abuse steroids. And so why not just train and try to look like you're on steroids while being natural? Is that not the goal? Try to look like you're a fake natty while being natural. That would be the world's ultimate compliment. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to check out Momentous Clothing by clicking the link in the description, as well as coaching plans by me and my team. You can click in the description for that. Watch one of those two bloops over there, and of course, pick up the Cookbook 3.1, the best one ever, as well as Turkesterone, GO2 Max, all the supplements. Code Greg, 15% off. Stay natural. And until next time, I am out.